Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Panasonic GH5 and looking at how good it is for filming wedding videos here in the UK. Well, just over 6 months ago, I switched over from a full Canon setup to a full Panasonic setup. I got myself two GH5s, a full range of micro four thirds lenses, and I just jumped all in. Over that time, I've filmed quite a lot of weddings, and I feel now that I'm in a good position to tell you about the good things, the bad things. Rather than talking about all the headline specs that everybody already knows, I'm going to be talking specifically about how this camera has helped me shooting wedding videos and all the requirements that we have that are probably different to a lot of other video professions. So without further ado, let's go. As wedding videographers, it's crucial that we are fast and agile. Even if we try and plan ahead of the day and we know all the timings and the locations, things can and will change at the drop of a hat. And we've got to be ready to go with the flow. Before, I was using a big camera, big lenses, just big gear in general, and it was slowing me down. I had some things in a backpack, things in extra bags. I was having to look for things constantly, and I was just aware that there were certain moments during the day that were going by completely missed. Switching to the GH5, it's such a small, light camera. The lenses are smaller and lighter. Rather than carrying lots of bags, I have my camera around my neck. I have a shoulder bag with several small little lenses in there, and I can just switch to them as I need them during the day. The other thing that has been a massive revelation to me is being able to shoot handheld. The GH5 has an in-body image stabilizer, which basically moves the sensor and it kind of counteracts any little camera shakes that you have. And it's completely changed the way that I shoot weddings. Rather than having to make sure I always have a tripod or a monopod with me, I'm able to go handheld. And quite often, guests will think I'm a photographer when I arrive. Obviously, there's still times of the day where you want your tripods for things like the ceremony and speeches, where you want to be in one spot for an extended length of time. But there's lots of times during the day that being able to move around with just your camera in your hand, you can capture so many moments so quickly and easily. Another important thing is we want to capture beautiful imagery during a wedding day. This camera has got so many video-centric features to help ensure that your shots are beautifully exposed and that they're in focus. First of all, you've got focus peaking. This is where you get little dots dancing around the screen that show which part of your frame is in focus. It's an absolute godsend when you're filming things like the bride walking down the aisle towards you. You can rack focus manually and just make sure that she stays nice and sharp as she comes towards you. Secondly, you've got zebras. Zebras are where it shows parts of your shot that reach a percentage of exposure. For example, anything over 100% will be overexposed. It really just helps to get nicely exposed shots, really. One example of where it helps a hell of a lot is if you're filming a bride outdoors on a sunny day. That white dress just glows intensely with the sun, and if you set your zebras to 100% and make sure that you don't see them where the dress is, you know that you've maintained all that detail. Additionally, you've got a little waveform on the corner of your screen that helps to see your range of exposure and to make sure that nothing is going into pure white or pure black. If you can contain your colors where possible within that waveform, you know that you're going to get a really good exposure. Another great thing with this camera is the screen combined with the EVF. Both of them are incredibly bright and incredibly sharp. It really helps you to get that critical focus when you're filming important moments. Another feature that helps with focusing is that you can magnify in on a small part of your frame and make it really big on the screen. and then you can check that you've got it in perfect focus. It's normally great if you're filming somebody's faces. You can magnify in, get perfect focus, and then press record. The downside is, once you've started recording, you can no longer magnify in. So if that person was to take a step forwards or backwards, you've either got to stop recording, magnify in and record again, or you've got to rely on the screen to get focus. As I mentioned, it's a very good screen, which does make this easy, but it is such a shame they couldn't allow you to magnify in during a recording. The other thing that's really impressed me with this camera is the color science. But this camera is really, really good. The vast majority of the time, the colors look exactly as I saw them with my eye. And even if you're using an automatic white balance, the camera is able to replicate really well what you've seen, and you can really feel that you can rely on it. One potential downside of this camera is the autofocus. It's not very good, basically. It will focus, but it's quite slow. It has a hunting effect where sometimes it will pass the subject, then it will come back and it will go back and forth. Personally, I love to use manual focus. I love to have complete control over that side of things. But if you are somebody who relies on autofocusing, you might be better looking elsewhere. One feature of this camera really kind of suits one of my needs as a videographer is having dual memory cards. If you put two SD cards in of an equal size, it will record to both cards at the same time. I use two 128GB cards. They last the whole day, and I feel a lot of comfort knowing that at the end of the day I have a main card and already a backup of my footage that I can store elsewhere. On a wedding day, you want to be ready to film at any moment, and one thing that can be a problem is changing batteries. If your camera has a really short battery life and you're constantly having to change batteries, you could be missing important moments while you're doing this. I can get through a whole wedding day of 10 to 12 hours on 3 or 4 batteries. This is a lot better than certain other cameras I've used in the past, and it just means I can get on with shooting. Another thing that's very important to us is the ability to capture really lovely artistic shots. Now, I know it's not for everybody, but I personally like using slow motion, and I know a lot of you other videographers out there like including a few slow motion shots in your footage too. Well, this camera has 4K at 60p. It really is great to be able to shoot in ultra high definition in slow motion. Also, in the shorter term, if you're still delivering 1080 footage to your clients, you'll be pleased to know that this camera will shoot anything up to 180 frames a second. I mean, that allows for some incredible shots of things like the confetti being thrown. Another requirement that we particularly have as videographers here in the UK is being able to shoot in a full range of weather conditions. I've shot in rain and snow during the last few months, and the camera's held up completely fine. It's got a weather sealed body, and the 2.8 zoom lenses, they're also weather sealed. One difficulty we often have is shooting in really dark, gloomy churches, or shooting the night part of the wedding day where things can be quite dimly lit. This was a big worry of mine buying the camera, but I've been pleasantly surprised. What I did is I bought some 2.8 zoom lenses, and I also bought some prime lenses, which are 1.7 and 1.8 aperture. Found the zoom lenses are really good in moderate indoor lighting, great outdoors. Things start getting a little bit on the dark side, they struggle. So you really need to have at least 1 or 2 primes if you're buying the GH5 or any Micro Four Thirds camera in general. You can get them quite cheap, and I found the results to be really, really good. I'd say the camera is good up to an ISO of around 1600. Above that, things start to get a little bit too grainy for my liking. But the camera is able to capture what I'm seeing with my eye. Is the camera as good as Sony in that way? No, it's not. It's not going to see in the dark. It's not going to see more than you can see with your eye. But for me, it matches what I can see when I'm at a night do. Okay, another important requirement at a wedding is to capture crisp, clean audio. First of all, you've got a little mic jack on the side. So you can plug in shotgun mic that you can mount on top of the camera. You could have a wireless receiver coming from a lapel mic. And the other bonus is you've got a little headphone jack on the side as well. So you can listen, make sure that audio isn't peaking and becoming distorted. If for whatever reason you'd left your headphones at home, there is also a little visual indicator on the screen showing the audio levels, so you can see if they're peaking and you can bring them down a little bit. One downside of the camera is that there are no XLR inputs, although to be fair you would probably not expect the camera to have those given its small size. However, if you really want to have XLR inputs to get the cleanest audio possible, you can buy an adapter that slots onto the top of the camera. It has 2 XLR inputs and it actually has physical dials to make it even easier to adjust your audio on the go. Another great feature of this camera is that it is so customizable. There are several function buttons that you can assign to your own users. I've assigned some for features like zebras, for features like focus peaking. I can switch them on and off. On top of that, you've got various C dials on the top. You could set these for various shooting conditions that you use quite often. And also there's a custom menu where you can add your favorite menu items so you can access them nice and quickly. In terms of flexibility, there's one feature of this camera that not many people talk about, but has been a massive help to me. It's called the X Teleconverter, and it will apply a 1.4 times crop to your shot. If you're using primes, which I've said is very important to do when you're shooting in dark conditions, it means that you can get an extra focal length out of your lens. It's great for times where you just want to punch in that little bit closer. So, would I recommend the GH5 to UK wedding videographers? The answer is a big yes. It's been incredible to move to a system where everything is so small and light. It just means I can carry less gear with me, my back's not aching at the end of the day, and being able to shoot handheld with primes has just been an absolute revelation. It's made it so much more fun for me again. I feel I'm not missing anything. And as I mentioned, having that backup is such a big deal for me. I never want to have to go and tell the client that a memory card failed. Well, thank you for watching today's review. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions whatsoever, please pop them in the comments section below and I'll make sure they get answered. If there's any gear that you've seen today that you're interested in buying, I'm going to be including links in the description section. And finally, I've got plans for lots more videos, all related to wedding videos and audio. So if you click that subscribe button, it'll make sure that you can stay up to date with the latest content. Thank you for watching and see you next time.